So let's continue with Cyril ROUX. He holds a master's in international trade. He has 13 years experience in management and valorizing waste. He is currently a country manager in Spain of the French company S3D Engineering, and since 2007 they're specialized in independent research of energy valorization of waste, offering engineering, consulting and research services, being one of the most acknowledged firms of the biomethane sector. He's here, so you have the floor. Thanks so much. I'd like to thank Avivium and ABIC for allowing us to present our company. And I think I have been presented properly. Thank you for that. Well, we wanted to speak about the topic and speak about gasification, a technology allowing us to produce renewable energies and gas. And gasification is one of those ways to produce biomethane and hydrogen. S3D was created in 2007. S3D Ingenierie was created by 3 PhD professionals in gasification processes, and in 2007 he specialized in methanization because that's when the sector developed in France. In 2018 we joined a larger group called Kiran through their subsidiary SCE. They're also engineers for water treatment, urban planning, port management and so on. And we have 5 business areas that we may see here: gasification and methanization, which are the historical areas, and we have diversified in alternative fuels, alternative vehicles, alternative fuel vehicles, and efficiency and strategy for industries or associations. We are 30 people, mainly in France, and we also have a subsidiary in Bogota, Colombia. We're opening another one in Barcelona, in Spain. We have worked in more than 100 methanization projects, and we have helped about 100 gasification processes and projects regarding feasibility and financial assessment, but also assistance to works management and methanization. If you want to get to know us better, we have a stand next to the restaurant, which is number 301. So we aim to speak about gasification, which is a thermochemical process similar to combustion and pyrolysis, but slightly different because it's done without air. When the combustion has an excess of air to produce heat, but the gasification aims to produce syngas. Syngas is made up by several molecules, but the 2 most important ones are carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So with that syngas, we can create different applications that we'll see later on. And there are different kind of reactors. The main 2 ones are the fixed bed or the 3D side bed, with several subtypes of reactors depending on the way the flow of matter is managed within the reactor. So we can also speak about pyrolysis. Sometimes we kind of mistake the 2 terms, pyrolysis and gasification. Pyrolysis is done in the absence of air. The aim here is to produce liquid waste, or pyrolysis oil, or a solid waste, which is carbon. So what's the advantage of gasification? First, it really complements methanization because it affects solid waste, organic waste, difficult to treat in methanization. And it really accepts a varied amount of substrates. The other advantage is flexibility, because through syngas we can give diverse usages. cogeneration, heat, of course, but also we can produce methane, hydrogen, and fuels, or rather interesting molecules with stages after gasification, such as ammonia or methanol. And here you can see an example of everything that can be done through solid waste with the pyrolysis and gasification stages. So what is really interesting here for us at the renewable gas fair is to produce methane or hydrogen. In both cases, we have a first stage of gasification to produce some gas. Depending on what we aim to produce, we can choose different technologies, and we can use air or oxygen as element depending on the composition we aim to have of gas and the application follows. And we can actually vary the gasification technologies, and then we treat gas, and depending on what we aim to obtain, we can enrich that with hydrogen after a gas shift stage, or we can do methanization to produce methane, inject it into the network if appropriate, or we can separate hydrogen from the rest of gas to produce this hydrogen. And the performance we have in these processes of gasification are there. With a ton of wood, more or less, we can produce between 250 nanometers cubic per hour of biomethane, and with a ton per hour of wood, we can produce between 60 and 70 kilos of hydrogen. This is good performance in biomethane of between 50 and 60%. So what's the potential regarding the waste, the substrates in France and Spain? Well, in France, several research projects have been done by the DM, which is similar to the EDAE in France, and we got this potential gasification between 74 and 137 terawatts hour, coming from forest biomass and waste biomass, and also a bit from alternative fuels used from waste. In Spain, we can use the steady gas study, where we speak about residual forest biomass, representing 70% of potential in Spain, and that's less than 30 terawatts hour with forest biomass without taking into account the other waste that may be used, such as wood waste or agricultural solid waste and solid biomass, or even plastic and used tires that may also be used in gasification. So there is a very high potential of gas with those waste in gas production. And last year, one of the two managers of transport network for gas in France, GRT Gas, identified a series of projects. In most of them we helped in the initial stages to check the potential of methane of second generation, different from gasification methane. And they have identified more than 50 projects referenced pretty much everywhere in the country. And they represent a potential of 4 terawatts hour. So in the portfolio, we have a potential of 4 terawatts hour of second generation biomethane. And the good news is that so far in France we have a related rate for purchasing biomethane, and the second gasification biomethane could not compete in those bids. So the rule has been modified, and now the government is going to have bids for gasification processes with biomethane to advantage from a regulated contract rate. So we foresee that the bid will come out in October or at the beginning of next year with latest. And we're gonna develop as well some aid, some subsidies for those projects. At least for the first ones to develop this sector and producing the second generation biomethane. So here's a typical case of a gasification process. And this is Pasno, a waste manager in northern France, if I'm not mistaken. And we have many of these waste managers, but not the biggest, but who do have regionally a amount of managed with waste, but they do not control the treatment parts. They don't have a chipboard factory. They don't have incinerators or landfills. And 90 million euros to produce 450 normal meters cubic per hour of biomethane with 15 kilotons per year, which is not a massive amount. So this is a good example, and these projects were waiting for a legal framework for biomethane sale, and we hope this will lift off in France so that we can apply this to Spain too. And that's all from me. Thanks so much.